were present. The BJP hit out at Rahul Gandhi, calling the Yatra a non-starter on the road to 2024. The BJP also highlighted that the abrogation of Article 370, which the Congress opposed, was the real Bharat Jodo mission as it united the new union territory with the Indian constitution. But one cannot deny that there has been a shift in the image of Rahul Gandhi, who was once seen as a reluctant politician. In this political campaign, despite the controversies, he has not parachuted in and out, but has maintained a momentum and narrative against the BJP. But the question remains, can the Yatra be converted into votes and boost Congress workers to take on the well-oiled election machine of the BJP? 2023 will see 9 state elections on the road to 2024. Can this Yatra deliver electorally beyond optics?
जो विचारधारा इस देश की नींव को तोड़ने की कोशिश कर रही है, उसके खिलाफ हम खड़े हों, मिलकर खड़े हों, नफरत से नहीं, क्योंकि वो हमारा तरीका नहीं है, मोहब्बत से खड़े हों।
Joining me first on the show is our newsmaker Sachin Pilot, senior Congress leader. Mr. Pilot, really appreciate your time. You had accompanied Rahul Gandhi for a significant stretch of this yatra. You understand that any political move will always be assessed on the basis of electoral victories. And if this doesn't really translate into electoral gains for the Congress, then its very purpose will be questioned. So my question to you is, what has this yatra really achieved?
Two things. One, the Yatra, when it started on September 7th last year, it was very clearly stated that this Yatra is not specifically meant to garner votes. This was meant to highlight the burning issues of our times, the fact that there is acrimony in our society, the issues of unemployment, price rise, farmers' distress is all that is bothering every single citizen. And I think what Mr. Gandhi through this Yatra has done, he's tried to unite all sections of society. And also people were not sure if the Congress's efforts and the Yatra's efforts would bear fruit in the northern part of India, because they said that South India it might do well. But as you saw, time went on and lakhs of people, I mean, the reception was overwhelming in every state. So the objective of the entire Yatra was to send a message to one and all that besides ideological divides, besides political differences, the country must come and stand together and face those very disturbing issues that are bothering all of us. In that regard, I have to say, despite our most severe critics, sneering at the Yatra on September 7th, today have reconciled with the fact that people have taken notice, people have given empathy and support to this effort. It is a humongous effort to walk 4,000 kilometers non-stop across this country. It hasn't been done in the last 70 years by any major political leader in this way that has been done. So it's an effort to unite. Of course, the political dividends of this will come later when the party workers and cadres try and take this message, which we will in the next 2 months, to different parts of our country. But the Yatra in its objective was to be a unifying effort led by Mr. Gandhi and Congress and even non-Congress people, many NGOs, farmers, civil activists, everybody joined in this effort.
Mr. Pilot, one of the unifying message that the Congress certainly wanted to send today was that it has emerged as the fulcrum of opposition unity, because during the course of the Yatra, several leaders joined the Rahul Gandhi when the Yatra was crossing those states. But today, out of 21 parties that were invited, we saw presence of only a handful of 4 or 5. Don't you see that as a setback? That yes, it may be about Rahul Gandhi's image makeover, but when it comes to the Congress party's larger role in opposition space, most of these parties are still not convinced.
I think it's unfair to do a head count and then determine what will happen in the future course. You see, democracy, as you know, Maria, is all about numbers. And we don't have to say or do anything to make a point that pan India, it is the Congress party that can take on the ND and the BJP. So all of our allies in the states have their own significant presence and their weightage and importance. But as the political landscape shifts towards the Lok Sabha election of 24, you will see much more realignment. And I say this with all humility, that the pivot and fulcrum of a strong opposition has to lie with the party that has the bandwidth, the strength and the presence to take on, like you keep saying, a well-oiled machinery of the BJP. So everyone is along with us today because of various commitments, because of snowstorms, etc. To give a head count and then make that the logical conclusion of what the opposition numbers will look like, I think it's not fair. But the Congress has always been and will be the central piece of the UPA, and moving forward, we'll all work with our allies and partners across the country.
Okay, but Mr. Pilot, the question is also that yes, the message may have been about electoral, the larger message of unification, but it is about electoral victories. Let's not forget that any policy that the government implements or any experiment that is done by a political party, the biggest validation is electoral success. My question then is that will this period of break, because you'll be starting another yatra from Silchar, that period be used for campaigning? Because there are 9 states that are going to polls, and in a number of these states, it's a direct fight between the Congress and the BJP.
Most certainly. And I take your point that as political parties, our job is to go to the people, prove and convince them that we are the best ones to serve you, and then people will just decide who they vote for. In that regard, we had 2 elections during the course of the yatra, Himachal and Gujarat. Of course, we didn't do well in Gujarat, but we won Himachal Pradesh, a North Indian state where people thought that the BJP cannot be defeated in a North Indian Hindi-speaking state. We did that, and with a solid margin. So next year, this coming year, has 8 9 states going to polls, and I'm sure that the effect of this, I mean, it wasn't meant to be a vote-catching exercise, but the fallout and the collateral benefit of this yatra will certainly be garnered by our party workers right from the village, panchayat, block and district levels. We've already had a very detailed discussion of how to take this message forward. So political activity will carry on. But this isolated Path Yatra, this yatra that we announced in Udaipur by then Congress President Sonia Gandhi ji, was that we'll take this yatra to get everyone together, because there is a lot of stuff that's going on in our society which does not get reported. There's not enough people listening with empathy and compassion. And Mr. Gandhi and all of us walked together to prove that point. And the way that in BJP ruled states, the amount of support that the yatra got was overwhelming. It may not have got the coverage in the media like it's getting today, but on the ground, the effects, the emotions, the connectivity, the outreach, the public participation, the mass contact, I think it has a very, very solid effect on people's perception of how they see leaders and political parties.
Mr. Pilot, Anurag Thakur, BJP leader and INB minister, put out a series of tweets, particularly in the context of what happened today. And he has to say that 20 जनवरी 2011 को मनमोहन सिंह जी ने कहा अनुराग ठाकुर को लाल चौक जाकर तिरंगा नहीं फहराना चाहिए, क्षेत्र में माहौल खराब हो सकता है, जिम्मेदार कौन? And he is then making the point that post the abrogation of Article 370 and 35A, the situation in Jammu and Kashmir has changed so much that it has become conducive for this kind of yatra. So will you be giving credit to Prime Minister Modi and the current government at the center that this was a welcomed move, a much needed move of unification of Jammu and Kashmir with the rest of India?
Who are you and I to speak? Why don't you speak to the people who live in the state, or in the Union Territory? People who are suffering the daily trials and tribulations of existence. So we can say, yes, number of tourist flights may have increased, but what is happening in the societal impact that Kashmir and Jammu have had? Why are people in Leh and Ladakh, known people sitting on hunger fast for 5 days? Why are there targeted killings in the valley? Why are Hindus, Pandits still not being rehabilitated? Why are there bomb blasts going on everywhere? So I think one is to have a propaganda, other is to be realistic. Now, the way they acted on 370 other issues was completely non-democratic. People under house arrest. I mean, if whatever majority you have, you must put it to good use. Now, to take credit for everything, including the brave Bharat Yatris who walked from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, if that credit the BJP wants to take, sure, they can take it, no problem. But who did the hard work? Who actually walked those miles, and who actually connected the people? One is to do your one-way radio chats and your Twitters and social media. Other is to be on the ground. And people have said previously that the Congress party was not seen on the ground that much. That has changed for last 150 odd days. Every single worker that I know, I had the chance to walk in a few states, and I saw what it was in South India, in the middle part of India, and in northern states. There is tremendous traction for people who put effort, right? This was done not with a self-serving purpose of proving something or to ask for votes or to cash in on a sentiment of some religious festivity or some other issue. It was done to connected well, listen to people, hear them out, sit with them, empathize with them, share their concerns, and promise to fight together unitedly. That was the message of the Yatra. And that is undeniably now in front and center of what people are thinking and talking about.
My last question to you, Mr. Pilot. Yes, Yatra, as far as the optics are concerned, have went for the Congress. But what about teething organizational challenges? We are seeing what is happening in the state of Rajasthan. You are expecting a particular solution to happen perhaps before the elections, which will happen towards the year end. Are you hoping that those organizational questions are also answered by Rahul Gandhi now? Or Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge?
So Mr. Kharge is now a newly elected Congress president. Whatever issues anybody has in any part of the country, organizationally that will be tackled, because our primary objective and all of us is to win elections. And you said in the beginning of this program that every political party has to prove its mettle by going to the people and winning their mandate. So we're focused on doing that. We have important states going to polls end of the year and middle of the year. And I'm sure we'll work it out in such a way that we're able to win back people's confidence on the EVM machines. That's what matters. And we are very confident about it.
Thank you so much, Sachin Pilot. Always a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks.
So over 145 days, the Bharat Jodo Yatra has traversed the length of the country. Remember, it started in Kanyakumari in Kerala and went from pole-bound Karnataka, and here is the map now. You can see, starting from Kanyakumari, it travels the entire pole-bound district of Telangana, which goes to polls later this year. Then it also traveled Karnataka, because Karnataka is also scheduled to go to polls this year itself, and where we saw the presence of both DK Shiv Kumar and Siddaramaiah very much on the dais. Then it entered Maharashtra and then poll-bound Madhya Pradesh. In later parts of 2023, we'll be seeing elections in Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan as well. Did a brief detour going inside Delhi, Haryana, Punjab, and then finally the big culmination that happened in Srinagar today. But if we decode the impact of this yatra in elections during the period, we see that Congress has had a mixed bag from an election point of view. Look at the Gujarat polls, where the Congress recorded its worst ever performance. But in Himachal elections, the Congress wrested power from the BJP. Then, if you look at the Delhi MCD polls, the Congress was completely routed. Then, look at the Manugode by polls in Telangana, an important election, because remember, so far BJP was not really in contest in Telangana. It was largely seen as a fight between the TRS and the Congress. The Congress was reduced, in fact relegated to the third position. But in Rajasthan, by polls, the Congress won in Sardar Shahar. In Chhattisgarh by poll, the Congress won in Bhanu Pratappur. In Haryana by poll, the Congress lost Adampur to the BJP. But on the road to 2024, the Congress continues to pitch itself as the fulcrum or the nucleus of the opposition. However, in the finale of the Yatra, the TMC, the Samajwadi Party, the JDU, the BSP, the TDP, the RJD, the Uddhav faction of the Shiv Sena and the JMM all skipped the event. While the Aam Aadmi Party, the BRS, BJD, MIM were not even invited. There are regional satraps with national ambitions. Let's not forget that. What is it then it has achieved? There is Rahul Gandhi, who is leading the Bharat Jodo Yatra in hope of reviving the Congress for 2024. Why is it that Arvind Kejriwal has not been even invited for some kind of pitch for opposition unity? Because Arvind Kejriwal himself eyes a national role, because the Aam Aadmi Party got a majority in 2 states, has government in 2 states. Then you have down south, KCR, whose state goes to polls later this year, and he has made his national ambitions pretty clear by renaming the TRS to Bharat Rashtra Samiti, which is the BRS. And Mamata Banerjee's national ambitions got a jolt though after TMC's poor show in Goa. But as a three-time Chief Minister of Bengal, she has repeatedly advocated for the Congress to make way for regional parties to lead the opposition space. Then, in the state of Bihar, Nitish Kumar may be a popular face, popular OBC face, but is not trusted by many opposition parties. Remember, he skipped the big show of strength today as well, and is unlikely to have an impact beyond Bihar. So, in this scenario, can Bharat Jodo truly power the Congress party as a solo player at the helm of the opposition? Joining me on the show, Shazia Ilmi, BJP spokesperson, Mahima Singh, Congress spokesperson, Riju Datta representing the TMC, and we also have Professor Sanjay Kumar of CSDS. Before I bring in the politicians, Professor Sanjay Kumar, as an analyst, what have these 145 days achieved for the Congress, for Rahul Gandhi, and for opposition in India?
For opposition in India, I don't think it has achieved anything because if you look at the last leg of the Yatra, when Congress invited large number of regional parties, leaders of regional parties, and except few of them, none of the regional parties actually turned up on the last day of the last leg of the event. Some of the regional parties were not even invited. So this whole idea about an opposition unity for 2024 seems to be fizzled out right at the beginning. I don't see any hope for opposition unity if the trend continues like this. What it has achieved for Rahul Gandhi, I think there is a image makeover of Rahul Gandhi. Earlier, he was always seen as a reluctant politician, not willing to do hard work. But by this long yatra of 3,500 kilometers, at least sections of voters who were not earlier, I won't say that they have now become Rahul Gandhi fan, but at least this skepticism about Rahul Gandhi, that has got evaded in a sense. People think that he is capable of doing hard work, and he has demonstrated by going by this long 3,500 kilometers yatra. Finally, has this yatra gained or will help Congress for the 2024 Lok Sabha elections or for the forthcoming assembly elections? Very difficult to say, Maria, at this stage that whether this is going to pay dividends for the Congress. But my own sense is that it will not pay huge dividends for the Congress, electoral dividend. And we should also remember that Congress leaders are also skeptical about that, and that is why most of the Congress leader, Rahul Gandhi himself, kept saying this yatra is not for election. The yatra is not.
And why would you say it? Why would you say it again and again? Do you think that is something that was a bad communication strategy? Why do you want to say that this yatra was not for electoral gains? I mean, the purpose of any political move is electoral validation.
I think, Maria, that statement was important when the yatra was going on, because if he has stated clearly this is for political gain, this is for the electoral mobilization, maybe the crowds the neutral crowds which may not be Congress supporters who turned up to see Rahul Gandhi or walk a few kilometers along with Rahul Gandhi and the Congress in the yatra, they may not have turned up. So in order to make this yatra a big success, in order to attract the attention of the so-called neutral voter, I think that statement was important, and that is why the statement may have been made. But I also believe that many Congress leaders believe that only this yatra cannot give electoral gains to the Congress. And that is why this was stated well in advance, because they knew after yatra, now there are 9 states which goes to poll. And if Congress does not perform well, and if Congress has stated that we have taken out this yatra for political mobilization, then Congress would have been in a difficult situation.
Yes.
Now, even if Congress does not perform well in the state assembly election, Congress can always say, we have already said, or we had already mentioned, this yatra is not for political gain. So Congress is trying to save the party. The leaders are trying to save the party from a possible debacle,
and perhaps,
even in 2023.
Protect Rahul Gandhi's image also. But, Shazia Ilmi, one thing that these 145 days have established is that Rahul Gandhi is a sincere politician. Now, will the BJP rework its strategy? Because one thing that you were targeting Rahul Gandhi constantly with was that he's reluctant, that he parachutes in and out of politics, that he isn't really serious. Here is Rahul Gandhi saying that I can undertake over 3,000 kilometers of a yatra.
So first of all, Maria, I would like to say that, the entire country of India, I mean, this vast expansiveness of who we are, it does not, and its body of politics, the polity, so to speak, it does not rest on one center, whether Rahul Gandhi is capable of sustained action or not. There is much more to Indian politics, Indian voters, India and its consciousness, then whether Rahul Gandhi is capable of something beyond sporadic and spasmodic political activity, which he camouflages as apolitical. There is such a lot of contradiction in all that he has stated, and Sachin Pilot just did, who spoke for the Congress and for his party, is that it is not a political yatra, yet you invite the political parties. You invite those parties with whom you can have some kind of truck with to go ahead. You obviously stay away from those who will not come with you and consider you a political untouchable. So it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But I just want to tell everybody in the Congress party that if you think this self-indulgence, this that this whole obsession and this delusion of who Rahul Gandhi is, and that the whole country will now say, oh, Rahul Gandhi can work, and that's why we are with this party. There are deeper complex issues and factors that work than this obsession that one.
No, but Shazia, moving away from that, the message, yes.
To us as people, no, Maria, even then, I agree. There is more. There has got to be more to a political party.
Yes. So that is what I'm going to ask Mahima Singh. What after this yatra? If it is not a political yatra, understanding and jodoing India, my question is, will it jodo voters and supporters for you? Mahima Singh, how much of a setback was it today that you had invited 21 political parties and just 5 of them turned up? They have sent a message that yes, Rahul Gandhi may have undertaken over 3,000 kilometers of yatra, but as far as they are concerned, they do not see that reason strong enough for them to be lobbying around the Congress.
Good evening, Maria, and good evening all. It's not at all a setback, I would say, because my leaders have time and again reiterated that this was not an exercise of bringing the opposition together. We are all like-minded in our pursuit of ousting the BJP of this country, the politics of hatred of this country. And so it remains a matter of fact that we are all together, we are like-minded in that. And in fact, most of the invitees have conveyed their best wishes to us by correspondence. Some of them could join, some of their leaders could join. Many were occupied. There are ensuing elections in 3 states. But, I would like to certainly start with, my favorite lines that Rahul Gandhi ji has spoken in these last few days. He said, love, affection and listening, I believe, are powerful forces. And these words, Maria, to me and to every citizen of the country and to everybody who witnessed this exhilarating,
Mahima, but politics is not about philosophy. These are philosophical ideas. It may be all right, but politics is about getting numbers. It is about sending a message that this yatra is a success only and only if it actually manages to win states for the Congress party.
Maria, if love, affection and listening seem to us like philosophical ideas, then what is Man Ki Baat? Then what is Pariksha Pe Charcha and things like that? I believe that he's talking real sense of democracy. He's talking about listening. He's been listening. He's walking the talk. On the other end, we have our Prime Minister who's not held a press conference in eight years. And here is Rahul Gandhi who's held over a dozen of press conferences all across the state.
Okay, Shazia, respond to that. Shazia.
Somebody was just a moment.
Yes.
Let me my thought, Maria.
Yes, Shazia, let her respond, please. You have made your point. Yes. Shazia, respond to this.
Indian voter cares whether Rahul Gandhi is capable of great stamina? Do you think that is what a politics is all about? Don't you find it self-indulgence and obsessive and delusional, the kind of conversation we are even having? I mean, is there any comparison? And what is so great about having a press conference? We know the famous press conferences of Manmohan Singh. So, I mean, the Man Ki Baat, in fact, is a direct conversation and on apolitical subjects that no prime ministers ever had. So let's not even compare. But I mean, just the fact that, Rahul Gandhi, is he proving to voters or the Congress party and the rank and file or to himself that he is capable of sustained political action, or his image endures, his being endures the grill and of politics, the heat and dust of it? Or is it another, just trying to prove that it's not going to be another Kalavati? Is more than that. Okay. Is that the standards we are looking at?
How worried now is our other parties in opposition? Riju Datta, why didn't Mamata Banerjee attend this, or she didn't even send any of her representatives for the Srinagar event?
Number one, I don't think in Bengal we were invited, because Adit Chaudhary was doing a rally here, and I think there was no invitation from their end. And secondly, in Bengal, constantly Adit Chaudhary is irritating and abusing the Trinamool Congress, and then at the end of the day, you expect a party with 213 seats in Bengal against a party with 0 seats in Bengal will go and attend your yatra. If you give respect, you will get respect. Nobody has the paternal right over the opposition space. But saying that, I will also say this.
Those are very strong words, Riju Datta. For you to say that nobody has paternal right over opposition space. Mahima, let's be clear. Was there a call that was made by Rahul Gandhi or Mallikarjun Kharge to say Mamata Banerjee? She is the head of a political party. Shouldn't those basic courtesies have been extended if you really wanted those attendance to happen?
Absolutely. Before I come to answer your question, let me just say that the BJP spokesperson just now talked about conversations, and let me remind her that conversations are two-way. Speeches are only one way, and he makes a speech in Man Ki Baat.
Please respond to Riju Datta. He has made an important point. You give respect, you get respect.
I'm going to respond. Maria, you did not allow me to complete my thought. Please allow me to complete my thought now. A question was raised about, him talking about this not being a political yatra again and again. Well, the question was asked again and again by the members of the press, so he's bound to answer to that, no. And apart from that, the question that you're putting up, I think the invites were sent to, more than 20 parties, and TMC, in fact, was a part of it. In fact, I remember in UP, we sent an invite to Smriti Irani ji also. And, we've done our
Akhilesh Yadav skipped. Chandrababu Naidu was not present. You have RJD and JDU with whom you run an alliance government in Bihar. Both of them were absent. You have a Jharkhand chief minister with whom you run the government in Jharkhand. Hemant Soren skipped. Then you have, Shiv Sena Supremo, Uddhav Thackeray faction. They also skipped. These are not good messages that is coming from the opposition.
I just mentioned that they've all conveyed their good wishes, and there's ensuing election in 3 states. So, as JDU Supremo has conveyed by a letter that the Nagaland campaign was in fact being launched today itself. And similarly,
Mahima, we know how frivolous these arguments are. Nitish Kumar is very much in Bihar. What did he have to do with the Nagaland elections?
Let me tell you.
He's not even campaigning. What about Tejasvi Yadav? What about Akhilesh? What about Mamata Banerjee?
Can I come in, please?
No, Mahima has to finish a point. Yes.
Let me just finish my point. You see, you have questioned about TMC before this, Maria. And from TMC, I remember a statement by Derek O'Brien, a very senior leader of the TMC. He said that in the opposition, there are like-minded parties, and amongst those, there are 2 kinds of parties. One, those already have, alliance with the Congress party in some state or the other, and those who have their own ambitions, which is perfectly fine, and it is to be respected in politics that everybody has their own ambitions. We have done what our culture embodies. We have invited those who would like to
respond to this, please.
I have made the point that I wanted to make about the Congress, but Maria, please give me the courtesy of time to finish my point. That you have to understand that we want a united India. The opposition it might look fragmented because it suits the BJP's narrative, but the opposition is united on people's issues. And in 2024, the elections are going to be people's issues versus BJP's propaganda. The entire opposition is fighting to save the democracy, the judiciary, and the constitution of India. हम यहाँ गार्डन खेल रहे हैं और people महंगाई और बेरोजगारी से मर रहे हैं.
तो गार्डन कौन खेल रहा है रिजू दत्ता? गार्डन कांग्रेस और टीएमसी खेल रहा है.
नहीं, बीजेपी. I'm talking about BJP. What are they doing? There are burning issues in this country, and we are changing names of roads, streets, gardens, hospitals, cinema theaters. This is what is happening.
गार्डन की आप बात कर रहे हैं. चलिए, I got you made your point.
Now today on today जिनके मुंह में है राम और दिल में है नत्थू राम, जो आज बापू के भजन गा रहे हैं, their leaders are the people who have shot Bapu. So this is what the crux of the matter is. The people of this country.
Okay, tell me, Riju, will Mamata Banerjee accept Rahul Gandhi as her leader if it is about opposition unity?
I think, because you are a very senior journalist, we have seen in the past that in this country there has been government who have been ruling this country where it is an alliance, post-poll alliance of multiple parties. That can also happen, or there can be a pre-poll alliance. But one message I will give to BJP, and that is that at one point of time, this Indian National Congress has 400 seats, and they lost the next election. So don't get on your high horse and fly high, because then you will fall very
Shazia
hard.
Ilmi, quickly respond to that, and then the final word to Sanjay Kumar.
I think Mr. Vista doesn't know what to say. So he has to see the only game the opposition has is Modi hatred, BJP hatred, defeat BJP. But they can't even
care less about Modi ji.
They are so greedy and desperate for power themselves. So they do this balancing act. They can't stand each other, but they know they need to, abuse Modi or speak against BJP.
Care less, Shazia ji. We can't care less about Narendra Modi ji. He's our Prime Minister, and that's that.
Justified. Your confusion is justified, and I understand that. But the fact of the matter is that, if you have this is the only blueprint you have. The entire idea that unites all of you is Modi hatred. Clearly, people can see through it because you're not actually united. You are just doing it because you can go to power, and it's all politics. And I think that kind of game is so shallow, and it's pretty easily comprehended. You think the average voter or an average Indian does not know the game you're playing? You fight here, you do jappi puppies elsewhere. It's all too apparent and all too shallow, based on just one thing adhesive that that joins all of you. Is Modi.
Okay. If anti-Modi is of Mr. Modi is the issue that can unite opposition, let's see. But even that is not happening. If anything, it was visible today. Professor Sanjay Kumar, as we have said, here is opposition which is clearly saying that there is no question of uniting. They are looking for post-poll arrangements. But my question then is that will the Congress be ready for understanding that in states, in several states, they have ceded space. The battlegrounds have changed. We know the example of what happened in the state of Uttar Pradesh. It is the Samajwadi Party versus the BJP. Then in the state of Bihar, it is JDU, RJD versus the BJP. In Bengal, it is another party versus the BJP. So the game has changed. Do you think Congress will accept it, or they'll be waiting for another round of setbacks, electoral setbacks, before they accept it?
Maria, if there is no formal alliance of Congress with the parties you have mentioned, with Samajwadi Party or with Trinamool Congress or with RJD and JDU, then I don't think that Congress is going to sacrifice their right to contest in these elections in these states. So Congress will put up candidates in West Bengal if there is no alliance. Congress is going to put up all 88 candidates if there is no alliance in Uttar Pradesh with Samajwadi Party. So I don't think Congress is ready to accept the reality. If there is no alliance, I think they would try and suffer another. That's bound to happen if there is no alliance. That Congress will go solo in these states, and it is bound to suffer a massive setback in 2024 in all the states where regional parties are very, very strong.
All right. Professor Sanjay Kumar, Riju Datta, Mahima Singh and Shazia Elmi, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Shifting focus to debate 2, the showdown over the controversial BBC documentary on the 2002 Gujarat riots is continuing. There is no end to the standoff in campuses across the country. Despite the ban on the film, the left student group, ISA, in fact screened the documentary in Bengaluru, which was attended by students and trade unions. But the fire is spreading to universities in Britain as well. The Students' Federation of India, that is the SFI, has planned the screening of the documentary on campuses in the United Kingdom, including Edinburgh, Manchester and Warwick universities. But Indian expats have hit back at the BBC. In London, protests erupted outside the BBC headquarters, with demonstrators accusing the channel of peddling propaganda. Journalist N. Ram, senior advocate Prashant Bhushan have moved the Supreme Court against the ban on the film. The pleas will be heard on the 6th of February. Law Minister Kiran Rijiju called it a bid to waste the time of the court. It has been over a decade since the Supreme Court, remember, exonerated Prime Minister Narendra Modi over charges that he engineered the violence. The documentary only sheds light on an internal assessment of the UK government at the time and interviews victims of the violence. But it does not highlight the findings of the SIT or the observation of the highest court of India, that is the Supreme Court. It also does not interview the families of the victims of the Grodra train fire, which sparked the violence. So is the BBC guilty of peddling propaganda? And is this politics in the garb of dissent?
Very substantial turnout at this protest in front of the BBC headquarters. There is clearly a great deal of anger over this BBC documentary. The overwhelming view is that this has come a generation after those incidents.
The documentary was biased, it was unbalanced. The purpose of the BBC is to inform and to educate, not to produce incendiary propaganda.
Public taxpayers' money fund all BBC's employees and they're working, and we want BBC to give the news as it is and stop their bias against India and Modi ji.
I am against the BBC. Whatever they show about Narendra Modi ji is fake and is a fake news and bogus news.
Let me bring in all the guests and go straight to Varke Parakal of the SFI. Varke, are you not guilty of falling prey to what is evidently a propaganda?
Clearly not. Regarding, so what exactly are we discussing here today? Are we discussing the exact content of the documentary? Because if we are discussing the content of the documentary, people keep bringing up, okay, this happened 20 years ago, why are you still discussing it? I mean, what kind of an argument is that? This makes the entire field of history invalid. This is coming from the BJP, which is talking about things that happened 300 years back during Aurangzeb's reign in Delhi. Who's still bringing that up? Are talking about BBC bringing things up that happened 20 years back.
No, they are not saying that.
There is some
Are we forgetting what the Supreme Court
to
said?
This argument. Yeah, of course.
Are we forgetting what the Supreme Court said?
No, what the Supreme Court said is actually mentioned in the documentary, and we would have known that had the documentary been freely screened in India.
No, the Supreme Court had said that there has been failure of certain officials cannot be inferred as a state-sponsored crime. Allegations of criminal conspiracy at highest level cannot be inferred. The breakdown of law and order can't be inferred as criminal conspiracy. Allegations against Modi solely on basis of ultra-sensational revelation. These are what the Supreme Court is saying. So then, what is seen as
No, see,
factually incorrect,
regardless
you are seeing
of
that
whatever the
and you are
Supreme
pushing
Court
for
is
screening
saying.
of that content in India.
Of course, regardless of what the Supreme Court is saying, the Supreme Court can disagree with the documentary. The central government, the BJP, all these parties are free to disagree with the documentary. But what we stand firmly in believing is that whatever your disagreement is or whatever the government's disagreement is, regardless of this, we should be allowed to screen. Right? The right to freedom of speech is not the right to the freedom to screen whatever the government wants. Right? It is the freedom to disagree with the official narrative. It is the freedom to disagree with the Supreme Court as well.
Court narrative is not like some kind of narrative. Supreme Court is the highest court of land. And they have, after years of investigation, there were multiple years, multiple SITs, several hours of questioning of the Chief Minister of Gujarat then, a UPA government at the center. Why do we forget the facts of this case? Adit Kothari, do you see this as a concerted campaign to demonize India with a skewed view of the 2002 riots? And does it have to do with India taking over the G20 presidency?
Nonsense. Let's begin with this point. Narendra Modi is not India. Narendra Modi is just a Prime Minister of India.
But he is the Prime Minister of India, sir, and that's
that simple fact.
Yes. Yes, Adit Kothari, please respond.
No, the Prime Minister of India is not India.
No, nobody is saying that the Prime Minister of India is India.
This is not.
But we have to respect what the Supreme Court has said. Either you do not believe even on the Supreme Court judgment, then there is something really problematic. Okay, Adit, if you can hear me, otherwise I'll bring in Kapil on this. Adit?
Maria, I can't hear you. It's just conflicting with the other gentleman's voice. So maybe if one person
he
can
has
talk
finished
at a
this
time,
point.
it'll
Please
be
go
extremely
ahead.
helpful.
Please go ahead. Adit, make your point.
Maria?
Kapil, the government has said that public screenings of the film will spark a law and order situation. There is no ban on watching the film privately. Can it stand a legal test as the case comes up in the Supreme Court now? And you've heard the likes of argument that has been made by Varke. Kapil Sankla.
Is the question towards me?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yes, I'm so sorry. Well, first of all, Mr. Varke should respect the fact that Mr. Modi may not be India, but he is the Prime Minister of India. He represents India on international forum. Also, he has been duly elected and voted by the people of India. So therefore, for him to say that Mr. Modi is not India is very fallacious. I don't know why he's trying to sensationalize and scandalize the issue. And that is the problem with the documentary itself. As you rightly said, it tends to sensationalize. It would create a law and order situation. It's based on a lot of highly rebuttable facts or highly rebuttable stories or narratives, so to say. So, and very importantly, let us also understand this, that your right to watch the documentary hasn't been taken away. The only thing that has been stated is that since it is scandalous in nature, it is sensational in nature, it may create law and order situation, and therefore there would not be any public screening. That is one very important thing. And the second thing, what Mr. Varghese must appreciate is that you have the right to speak your mind, but that is not an absolute right. You know, I've said this in different forums and I'll say it again, that your right stops where my nose begins. And so therefore, if there is something that you say that can create a law and order situation, and this is what the argument I've been in various other cases as well, that if you're saying something only to scandalize and sensationalize the issue, then you can be stopped. Where you say something that also impinges on my right, then of course you can be stopped. And here there is no stop per se. So I don't even know what the difficulty is. Here is the question, that there is a documentary that is not based on absolute truth, that shows only one facet of what really took place.
It's a one-sided view of the 2002 riots. There is no elaboration of the Supreme Court's findings. The victims of the Godhra train fire have not been interviewed. And if anything, it appears to be politically motivated. Adit Kothari, please come in on this. Is there a larger conspiracy here, as is being, inferred by people like you who were holding those protests outside the BBC office?
Well, Maria, thanks for having me to begin with. There's that, absolutely not a question on that. I mean, the timing of this particular documentary needs to be questioned. The fact that the Conservative Party, the leader of the Conservative Party, is a proud Hindu, and there is a nefarious agenda behind this particular documentary to paint Hindus as extremists. I understand, the speaker before me may have said that India is not Modi and Modi is not India. I completely concur with that particular motion. But the fact that you're using Narendra Modi to define a complete, an entire civilization, and then to draw the apparently being some sort of a fascist leader who conducted some sort of a alleged, as the BBC documentary also mentions, alleged political program. And to draw parallels with that against the Conservative Party leader, who is also a proud Hindu, undoubtedly not a doubt. That it was released on BBC Two. Now, BBC Two is not consumable outside the United Kingdom. It is only consumable in the United Kingdom. However, in this day and age of technology, VPNs and what have you, of course, people will get access, but it's a minuscule population in India which actually gets to view this particular documentary.
So basically, Adit, you're questioning the motive of this broadcaster. Of course, that motive will be questioned, and why bring out a documentary of this nature at this time at all? Something that happened 20 years ago, at a time when India is, preparing itself for G20 presidency. It is also the 5th largest country in terms of its economy. Then, is this just an attempt to hijack the larger narrative of an India which is confident? Shikha, there is the reaction that has come from ABVP as well. Are you also not guilty of escalating the situation on campuses? Even after a ban, are you protesting because the administration is not taking action?
Am I audible?
Yes, go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes, please, Shikha, go ahead.
Okay, fine. So, the very question that we are escalating the conflict in campuses is just so baseless. We were never in the picture. Nowhere we had any thing in, like, after this ban came, it was the left-led JNUSU, that so-called JNUSU that shared this poster that they are going to screen the thing. Before me, one of the gentlemen said that, public screening is banned. You can watch it. The entire propaganda that we see in the campuses, let me very clearly point it out, that is to create unrest. That is to make students believe, make them not also, I would say, someone said India, Modi about Modi. Modi is India and India is Modi, something like that. They are not even against, I think the very nature of anti-state things that is going on in this left-led, like all the campuses where left dominates, whether it was like previously in JNU, nowadays it has been very, very much counter. And they very much clearly understand that they will come into picture, like you were calling me like in an interview. You would call leaders from the left, from SFI, ISA.
So you are saying that this is about left-seeking relevance, all right, because this is not the last word we have heard on this debate. Perhaps when the Supreme Court takes it up, I will have Kapil Sankla again on my show. Thank you so much for your time, Warke, Mr. Sankla, Mr. Kothari and Shikha. Remember what the Supreme Court said. The Supreme Court had clearly and categorically said that allegations against Mr. Modi solely on basis of ultra-sensational revelations. Mr. Modi was questioned by the SIT for hours, and the entire SIT or investigation was happening under the, was being monitored by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court also said that the SIT in fact exposed falsity of claims, had proof of hard work of state functionaries. It also says that there was no material to indicate that there was failure on part of intelligence. And in fact, if anything, the allegations of criminal conspiracy at highest level cannot be inferred. Then what is the purpose of this documentary that has been put out by the BBC? On that note, we are slipping into a short break. After that, Shah Rukh Khan and Team Pathaan made an appearance. This was for a press conference after their super success. The film has already crossed 500 crores in just 5 days.
they stand for an ideological diversity. Some of them may be more liberal, some of them may be, very woke, others may even be conservative. It all depends. I mean, there are a lot of people who believe that certain, colleges and institutions are usually, most of the time, more freedom loving, more revolutionary in their thinking. And that is the way it has been through history. Some of the biggest protests in the world against repressive governments have started in universities. The second point is very, very important that you raised about the fact that Mr. Modi benefits electorally from, every time the Gujarat 2002 riots are talked about, where the very Supreme Court, the BJP courts very often refer to Mr. Modi and his Gujarat government as Emperor Nero, which I believe is a severe indictment of their, political performance at that point of time. But let me give you an example here. I have been a Congress supporter. I continue to be one. 1984 Sikh riots, in my opinion, were heinous. They were horrific. And it was, in my opinion, something that all of us as Indians should hold our heads down in shame.
Yeah.
You know what? The Congress won general elections thereafter. Not just after in 1984, the Congress won again and again. And I can tell you the Congress formed a government in Punjab thereafter. Dr. Manmohan Singh became the Prime Minister. Yet, if today the BJP or any TV anchor or anybody for that matter were to be critical of what happened in 1984 Sikh riots, absolutely justified. Mr. Modi can win 10 elections for all I care. But the truth of life, Zaka, is that what happened in Gujarat was a genocide. It was a state-sponsored pogrom. Supreme Court called Nero. What did the Supreme Court mean? And you can have one Supreme Court verdict on the conspiracy case saying that there's no case against him, but that does not mean that innocent people did not die. It did not mean that Babu Bajrangi and Maya Kodnani were not convicted of brutal murders under the watch of the chief minister.
So one second, there are two parts to this. Is your case, and when I say you, I don't mean you individually, Sanjay Jha, but the case against the then Gujarat chief minister, is it that he looked the other way while the riots were happening, or was there a conspiracy? Because clearly the conspiracy part has been thrown out by the Supreme Court, right? That is the Supreme Court verdict as it stands as of last year. I don't want to go into the elaborate details of it. But I don't think what Mr. Modi was accused of for the last 20 years was just merely failing law and order, or, to put it even more crudely, incompetence at the time that the riots happened. What he was accused of by everyone, including the Congress party, was connivance in the riots. And that, I think, the 2022 Supreme Court verdict completely throws out the window. But let me go to Abhijit Majumdar, and he wrote this, I think, for News18.com as well as for First Post, that he believes that if the government wanted to, and many have been arguing this as well, including the likes of a former Ministry External Affairs Secretary, Mr. Kaju, that the government should have just ignored this. This is a G20 year. You expect these kind of attacks. You don't have to swat a fly every time a fly comes past you. But you believe, Abhijit, that the government is doing this because it suits them politically, and every time, as I outlined in 2015 and 2020, numerous instances where such potentially polarizing issues came up, and it ultimately helped the BJP and helped Mr. Modi electorally. So you believe that this is being actively kept because the government also somewhere politically benefits. The only thing that's sort of jarring for me is this is a G20 year. This is the year when India is supposed to, it's like a coming out party. India showing confidence, India showing power, it's projecting power. Doesn't this entire episode betray nervousness?
This was like a full toss Zaka bolt to the BJP and the Modi government. Maybe unintentionally by the BBC. I think we are giving too much, reading too much into the fact that BBC may be targeting Modi. They may actually being, after Rishi Sunak in a way, because he is Hindu. There's been a fair bit of unease in the UK, but that's another matter. The thing is that this actually obviously helps the BJP every time Gujarat riots comes up, because we have seen that in the 12 years after the 12 years after the riots, UPA ruled. They tried, they went relentlessly after Mr. Modi. They failed to indict him. It was a war fought through innuendo, conspiracy theories, everything but facts, which proves that Mr. Modi is guilty. The Supreme Court has given its verdict. There is no way that they can win. And also, what happened, the whole, the case after 2002, it constantly told the mass Hindu psyche that one man is being targeted relentlessly because because he is because there is Muslim appeasement in play. So if every time this comes up, why is the Congress and other opposition not hitting the streets? Why are they fighting the proxy war through students and campuses? That is because they dare not. They know that it is going to further damage them, which is why they are fighting this through campuses, hoping that at least the student community can be sort of there can be some kind of stir brought among the student community. It's not going to happen. It gives BJP certainly an electoral advantage. A documentary by BBC could have
a film with love, with the right intentions. And most importantly, I think we had a good time. This is something Shah Rukh taught me in my very first movie. He said, try and work with people you know you're going to have a good time with. Or I think that makes a huge difference.
मेरे जो director है यहाँ पे, I think he is responsible for presenting me and the entire cast for the way we've been presented. Congratulations, Sid. You're the hero of this film also. So, Lolly, congratulations. वो Sid का pet name है, Lolly. Okay. और very important, मुझे शाहरुख के साथ काम करने का मौका मिला. We all say Shahrukh today is, I don't think he's an actor anymore, he's an emotion.
क्या बात है. बिल्कुल सही.
It's beautiful. इसीलिए I nearly went to kiss him in a lot of the scenes. So it was a beautiful experience. And Deepika के साथ तो मैं काम कर चुका हूँ पहले, but seeing her growth always makes me happy. जो मैंने कहा भी.
मैं 20 सालों से फिल्में बना रहा हूँ. And I've been saying it, ये पहली बार था मेरे करियर में जब मैं actually nervous था. I think Gauri had asked me the question 2-3 days before the release that आपको नींद आती है रिलीज से पहले? मुझे बहुत अच्छी आती है. अच्छा. और मैं आराम से उठता हूँ और हर पिक्चर मैं गया हूँ एक सिंगल स्क्रीन में देखने के लिए गेटी 12 बजे के शो पे, और मैं हमेशा 11:45 बजे उठा हूँ हमेशा, और मैं भाग के गया हूँ गेटी. इस टाइम हम लोग साथ में थे आई थिंक 3-4 बजे तक, और मैं सोया ही नहीं.
हम कुछ ज्यादा ही शुक्रिया अदा करेंगे भगवान का, गॉड का, अल्लाह का. We will be thanking all the people involved with this film, all the media, and also I would like to say the powers that be, because there were times when we had to make calls to people and say कि please हमारी film को प्रेम से release करवा दें, and they all took charge of it, and we were so happy that the film was released with so much. मेरे लिए सबसे बड़ी शुक्रिया अदा की बात ये होती है कि लोग film प्रेम से देख सकें. Film experience is an experience of love, and we should appreciate that. So I'm thankful to everybody who has helped us out without making it a big thing, just helping us out, making a fine film, releasing it for fine people, and hopefully it will give fine feelings.
कि तुम हिंदू हो, तुम यहाँ से चले जाओ। पब्लिक प्लेस पे उन्होंने इतनी गुंडागर्दी की, तलवारें लहरा रहे थे, पुलिस कुछ नहीं किया।
Ever since Sikhs for Justice announced this so-called referendum, we have been drawing the attention of the Australian authorities to the potential for violence and for sowing disharmony.
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narasimhan. Ladies and gentlemen, there are elements who are desperate for attention. There are elements whose narrative is slipping and slipping fast, and they will go to any extent to go ahead and hurt Bharat and of course try and strike its DNA, and that is Hindutva or Hinduness. So the attacks at Hindu temples, the attacks at the Indian fraternity, diaspora, and anybody who identifies proudly with Hindustan are only going to increase because there are elements who do not want Bharat to succeed, who do not want a stable government, who do not want a vibrant democracy, and who do not want Bharat to get its rightful place among the global people or in the world. And we are taking big steps as a nation under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi over the last 8 years, and we are in the direction where we want to be a developed nation by 2047, by the time we complete 100 years as a nation. But there are elements like these in Australia who would want to unsettle, who would want to disrupt, who are so desperate that they will do anything to get attention. The idea tonight is not to give these elements attention, but the idea tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is to wake up and to realize how desperate the enemy is, how brutal the enemy is, and how devious the enemy is. We as a nation need to wisen up to this, and we as a nation need to flex our muscle with our friends to tell them, don't give such elements even an inch of space. Freedom of expression cannot mean, in any country cannot mean, talking secession and burning the tricolor or burning the national flag of any nation. Had the same thing happened with the Australian flag in Indian soil, what do you think would have been the response of the world, and what do you think would have been the response? Now, this has happened on Australian soil. What do you think should be Bharat's response, and how should Australia respond if it really believes India is its true friend? Indorse